Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efene. Great Malabite.
Good morning, Ruben.
Action.
Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, Mr. Feni.
Good morning, Victoria Tundu, MKO Abiola.
Good morning, Mr.
It doesn't matter whether it is black or white. You are beautiful. Rufai. Now, let's start.
The poet.
Yes.
The romantic.
I just remember Michael Jackson when you said it doesn't matter if it's black
Correct.
or white.
Let's start the review with these day newspapers. Nigeria's newspaper of records. The lead story, Patami has atoned. Remains minister, says Presidency. Now, the News Direct is reporting the same story. Early age utterance. Presidency rejects call for Patami's removal. List milestones as minister. Now, of course, for many Nigerians would say expected for you to think that Patami will be sacked over comments he made many years ago. For this government, it is a no-no. So he remains a minister. But like I always say, the statements made years ago pronouncing deaths and celebrating deaths carried out by extremists, terrorists, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, in some other climes, will haunt him forever, and he should not be in a position like this. But the presidency has said he will continue as minister, but the security agencies will also do well to keep an eye on him, I will add. Now, other stories, the Daily Sun newspaper. Federal government beefs up security over military coup in Chad. France backs military junta in Nigeria's neighboring country. Rebel groups warn world leaders not to attend President Debi's burial. Buhari meets northern governors, gives assurance of commitment to end banditry, insurgency, others. Now, other newspapers reporting this same story. Daily Independent newspaper, Chad crisis worsening insecurity in Nigeria. Federal government beefs up security around border areas, says separatist agitations bleeding country. Buhari meets northern governors, vows to end insecurity in region. Now, below the photograph there, gunmen kidnap 18 passengers in Oyo, herdsmen kill 6 in Benue. Still, a reign of terror and bloodletting. Now, Vanguard newspaper, the same story, insecurity, our nation is bleeding now. Defense minister says death of Chadian leader has security implications. Federal government beefing security in border areas. Government compiling report on political and religious ethnic opponents. Confirms arrest of Boko Haram sponsors in Kano. Bandits attack Kaduna hospital, kidnap 2 nurses. We have epidemic of kidnapping and abductions. NMA president. Traditional ruler, 5 others killed in Benue. The Daily Trust newspaper, still the same story. Federal government, Nigeria is bleeding. Now, below the photograph in Daily Trust, not kudos as APC kicks against fresh petrol hike. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper, yes, the same lead story, but we just go to other stories there. Below, yes, beside the photograph below, tributes galore as Odumakin's line in state. I would love to go through life with him again. Widow, Adebanjo Somolu, Gbajabiamila, Gani Adams, and Mosu Mimiko, others at event. Yes, the late activist, spokesperson of Afenifere, his journey to Mother Earth begins yesterday with that line in state. Now, above the masthead of the Tribune, strike continues until demands are met. Johnson Passan insists judiciary fund must be deducted directly from source by AGF. That should be the Accountant General of the Federation. Lagos Johnson announces partial resumption. Yes, that in itself is a blow to the strike, because the Lagos branch, they are also considering lifting the strike partially, according to them, because in their words, the jails are filled up, and to avoid people being justice being delayed, they want to lift the strike here in Lagos. Now, let's go over to the New Telegraph newspaper, ambassadorial clearance. Disquiet as Oloni Shakin, Buratai, others await postings. Federal government shortlisting allied countries for ex-service chiefs to avoid rejection. They can either be accepted or rejected, according to Professor Bola Akinterewa. Why National Assembly may invite ex-military chiefs over $1 billion arms fund. Yes, recall the Chief of Army Staff the current Chief of Army Staff, when he was invited to the National Assembly to account, he simply replied, please ask those who were in charge when this $1 billion was withdrawn from the account, the federal account. Now, before long, we expect that these ambassadors designate, former service chiefs, will be invited to answer a few questions. Now, the Guardian newspaper, Southeast farmers score anchor borrowers program low. Blame failure on late arrival of inputs, herdsmen attack. Cite disregard for comparative advantage in crop selection. Name beneficiaries, amount involved. Union challenges CBN. Abia official says some farmers saw loan as lages. Ebonyi claims it had to settle loans for defaulting farmers. CBN not responsible for farmers' failure, says Apex Bank official. And of course, the Daily Times newspaper. Anxiety in Ishekiri land over whereabouts of Olu's crown. And of course, another story on this subject below the photograph. Olu of Warri crisis. Police invite powerful chief over crisis in Warri Kingdom. Well, these are just side attractions, if you will. But at the appropriate time, the Olu designate will be crowned. And that in itself is almost irreversible. Now, if we look at the foreign newspapers quickly, the Guardian newspaper of UK, Cameron pushed bank for £20 billion to support Greensill. Yes, David Cameron repeatedly pushed the Bank of England and the Treasury to risk up to £20 billion in taxpayer cash to help Greenfield Capital, just as the lender faced significant financial pressure during the pandemic. Well, the lobbying of David Cameron, former Prime Minister, is something that is still making waves in the UK. Yes, lobbying is not illegal, but the extent to which it went is what is being questioned by many. Now, the Times of UK, Cummins is accused of leaking Prime Minister's text. Johnson saddened by bitter former advisor. Yes, Dominic Cummins, the former advisor and close ally of Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister. Boris Johnson believed that Dominic Cummins is behind the damaging leaks, including the disclosure of the Prime Minister's text message. According to a source at number 10, they claim that the former senior advisor was engaged in systemic leakages, thus undermining the government and the party. One of the texts was that sent by Sir James Dyson, a Tory donor who Boris Johnson offered to help over tax issues of his employees. But Boris Johnson is saying he has no regrets over those text messages. The Wall Street Journal, where President Joe Biden bringing the world together, yes, the Wall Street Journal, world leaders pledge efforts on emissions. This is how a president should hit the ground running. All the issues he promised is delivering. And of course, he's gotten that commitment from world leaders at that summit he summoned at the White House yesterday. Ruben Rufai and Tundu.
Yeah, very quickly, I think, I would have loved to comment on Sir James Dyson and the Prime Minister, but let charity begin at home. And the biggest news is that of the presidency endorsing Issa Patami. And I think that that's probably the worst position ever taken by this administration, because that's a position that clearly discounts the importance of public opinion. What is public opinion? Public opinion is saying in this instance that character, background, are both important in appointing persons to public positions, and that persons who are tainted need not be given important positions. If there is a man who has had, an early connection with, terrorist organizations, should you then hand over a strategic position like NITDA, the Technology Development Agency, where Issa Patami was before now, and then later the Ministry of Communications Technology, under which auspices he now has direct access to the data of all Nigerians. These are the points that Nigerians have been making, that there is something untidy in this regard. But we've seen a desperate attempt on the part of the Nigerian state to protect this particular officer. Second point, before now, people had called for his resignation, including activist Deji Adeyonju. And I made the point at the time that he will not resign. That's not the Nigerian standard. And clearly, he has not only refused to resign, the Nigerian government has gone ahead to endorse him. Now, if you look at that statement by the presidency, they're saying that he has repented, that he has recanted, and he can go ahead and sin no more. That's the import of it. And there was even an attempt at praise singing in that statement about what he has achieved, how he has fought criminality in the telecom sector, how he has done a lot and all of that. Yes, okay, if the president has extreme confidence in him, given his antecedents, won't he be better off as the chief imam of the mosque at the villa? He can be redeployed to go and be preaching at the villa and be chief imam of the mosque. So these are the issues. In some other parts of the world, persons like this will be turned adrift or be reassigned, or, the state will be looking at how to get intelligence from them to help in the fight against Boko Haram and terrorists. And what is the guarantee that he's sincere about recanting? Government is even helping him to adjust the information. They say, oh, he spoke during his 20s. No, he spoke during his 40s. So why is the villa trying to go bend backwards? Is this about ego? Is this about power? But whatever it is, I think the minister, Issa Patami, is already damaged. The efforts he's been making on social media to roll back the damage is also not helping. The protection by the federal government will not have significant effect on public opinion.
All right, I'd love to say more, but for the fact that we're even debating this, show how low we have become as a country.